Welcome back. This is week 6, and I got a lot to cover today, so let's go in. So basically, the fall continued, and now I had a. My idea was that the problem was later. I'll just explain. The problem was that um, I went 40% in right last week, starting around last week, and then I just kind of it kept on going higher, right? And so I was short. So I'm like, okay, this is, I kind of got in my own mind thinking, well, this doesn't make sense where it is. So I'm going to increase the position. So I increased it, right? And then on Sunday, it gapped down. So I was like, okay, my ideas are working. And then on Monday, I woke up and all the gains from Sunday were basically gone. And it went back to zero. So I'm like, okay, well, now that it's back to zero and I don't get why it's doing that, I'm going to sell it. So I sold it. So that basically ended around -9 there. And then I waited another day and it just kept on rising. And then at one point it kind of stopped rising. So I'm like, okay, this is probably a good time to go back in. The problem was that I was going back in with 100% because I was so confident about it. And my regular strat is not going 100% in. My regular one is just going 40%. Um, and when I went that day when I went 100% in the last 2-3 hours of the day, it kind of just went on going up forever a bunch, and so basically that hit another 5% loss. So now what I've decided is because I had a limit that if I got below -15%, I would stop it and stop trading that thing. So I stopped it, and now I'm back to the original one. And so basically from Thursday to Friday, I use the original one, and right now I have some goals and stuff, and I'm going pretty well, but the problem is right now I'm around -14.6%. So basically, I'm thinking I have around a month and a half around there, maybe a month and a week and a half, I think. And so, my idea is right now, kind of just go slowly up because this huge fall that I had right here, if I only would have gone in 40%, I'd probably be around, this level. Maybe I'd still be negative, but I wouldn't be -14. Now it could have been a lot more catastrophic, if I wouldn't have sold that first day. It could have been a worse point down around -30. So that's the thing where you don't want to. You have to be very careful with that. So I'm not going to be doing that. I'm only going to be doing the things that I've been doing since September, basically. Up until now, it's the same exact strat. Just at this point, this big fall, I kind of just switched it, and that messed it up. Um, and so basically, I kind of just went back to the regular thing. And so I'm quite hopeful right now. I'm thinking around a month and a half, being around close to neutral, probably around -5 to 0 will be. And then it really depends how the average market moves from there. If it keeps on going up, then we probably will not be outperforming, right? Now, if it keeps on, if it starts falling, going to zero around there, then there is a possibility, especially, well, I'll explain it later, but yeah. So that's kind of just a quick summary. So last week, is the worst week, kind of -11, and this week was still quite bad, -6. Now, if I the regular style, which I only started on Thursday, we actually gained a 1% gain in 2 days, and that was really with actually no leverage or nothing weird. That was quite low risk, and so my goal right now is to keep around a 0.5%. Now that's very high. The thing is, the idea is not to hit it every day, but the idea is to wait for some big day and then to go in that day. So like for example, this Friday, right? I was gonna put in a short, and that short, the order didn't go through, right? And then it didn't go through. I was confused why it didn't go through, and it was because on Thursday I had sold a position. I thought I had sold at 4:59 p.m., but the order went through at 5 p.m. And so basically that means that the money takes an extra day to settle, and so it wasn't settling. And then I couldn't use that money. Now I had that 40% in there, which I was just holding, right? And then so I used that money to gain that 1% that day. Um, so yeah, that kind of sucked. But what I mean is that we probably would have gained around 5 to 6% that day, and then that would have greatly increased the mean average. So that's kind of the idea, just to pick up on these days I gain a lot, and we only need 3 of these days, and that's in a month and a couple weeks. So, and I'm quite confident about it, and because it's what I always do. So I'm really confident that I'll just come back up as always. Um, so yeah. So here you have the whole graph. So you can see Nasdaq. The interesting part is we finally had some losing stuff. So on Friday went down around negative two something. And this is finally actually not based really on not a specific event news like tariffs or DeepSeek. We're just rebounded. This is kind of just the overall market move that happened that day. So I'm quite confident that it'll hopefully start to fall down a little more. Maybe go close to neutral hopefully in the coming weeks. And then, if it goes close to neutral, we'll be up a lot. So, yeah. Or either way, really. But, so here you have this week was -6, and then NASDAQ -2.2, so NASDAQ did quite bad. And then when I started using the regular stat, we actually just outperformed both of those 2 days, so, yeah. So here we have the overall, the increase by around 3%, so that's good. And now NASDAQ's around 5%. So, 5%, this can in one bad week it's gone, right? So and then if this goes down 5%, today it fell down 2%, it would have been a close to 5% gain for me. So you can imagine 2 more of these days, that's going to be around 10%, so that would be -4. So I think in a month we should be quite close to zero. Here we have the S&P. So over here the S&P isn't doing as well as NASDAQ. You can see the overall is negative. Oh no, this week it did -1.6. It didn't lose as much. No, we still performed 50%. But what I mean is that the overall is 4.24. So it's not as high as NASDAQ, right? It's just a little below, 0.7% below. But same kind of idea. I want to compare myself to the S&P mostly, and then we outperformed 2% more. So Dow Jones is actually the worst one right now. So a couple weeks ago was the best one. Now it's the worst one. It lost -2.43%, so the most this week, and this should be 50%, so it outperformed 50% of the days. And then you can see here that it increased by 3.6, and it's at 3.85, so it's the lowest return since I would have started this. Yeah. Over here, you can see that what I mean, that Dow Jones is the worst, and you got SPY, and then you got NASDAQ. So it's interesting. If it keeps on falling, then NASDAQ will probably be the worst, and then SPY, and then Dow Jones, so it might flip. But there's quite a big gap right here. Now it's kind of gone because it gained and then lost. But yeah, I mean, my idea is just to slowly gains right over here. You want to have it consistent. Want to be not so much variability like over here. Kind of just have it like go up slowly like this, and then that just kind of reinforces that this regular strat that I'm doing actually works, and you don't want to leave that, because when you leave it is when you mess it up. Over here you have the daily, so this obviously decreased quite a bit, mostly because of this one day. The good thing is we at least gained around 1% in the 2 days, so that's good. And then here you can see this is the bad day, where really the last couple of hours of the day just completely went off. And so here you can see that basically, so the first day was okay because I closed it out, and then the second day was bad. And here we outperformed a little, and then here we also outperformed by quite a bit. Over here we have the overall, so the red days are obviously quite great. The green days are not as high, and then we had a neutral day, but not really worried too much about that. This decreased by quite a bit. Now you have to think about that the mean, like this decreased because some trades only lost around -0.1. Some of them gained only that, so it kind of decreased, but it wasn't on that many bad ones. So here the mean decreased, but then so kind of worst case where the gains decreased and then the losses increased. The standard deviation did also increased a little bit. And then for SPY, the same thing happened though. So the gains decreased and then the losses increased by quite a bit because of Friday. Over here we see that the S&P also gained a little on standard deviation. And then when we do the comparison, we're actually still doing good on. So this is like the only good measure that we have right now. Our losses to gains, or the ratios are good, and our loss could increase by quite a bit. And then here you have the gains. So it's quite good. I mean, the only problem with like this is that your mean loss could be negative, I don't know, 1. But if you're always losing, then you just go down. And then here we have the differences. So we're actually doing better this week, so that's good. And then our standard deviation is lower, so that's finally good. Our standard deviation, I think this is the first week that it decreases in comparison, so that's good. I want to, going slowly, consistently up over a month and a half around there. I want to, have the standard deviation decrease, and then so you can see how regularly what it would be, because I don't want to have so much variability and all that. It's just too much. Over here, you see that the mean transactions did increase, barely, and then this also increased. This is probably going to keep on increasing, to be honest, because this time I'm just kind of with around 60%. I'm just kind of going in and out mostly. I don't want to be holding overnight too much or anything, so this is probably going to increase. And then this doesn't matter right now. And then here you have the overall, so you can see kind of decreased by around 6%, right, -9, -14. But I mean, the goal right now is to hit that 0.5, so that's quite a lot. But just kind of waiting for that. We have the Nvidia earnings this week, so that's going to be a big catalyst for anything happening. I don't want to be directly in it, but if it overall has a down effect, that's good. Then our gaps outperforming decreases. But yeah, I'm quite confident, and I had a quote over here from Jesse Livermore, which basically just saying how you have to stick to what you know how to do, right? And you don't want to get too cocky and increasing your sizes and stuff. So what beat me was not having brains enough to stick to my own game. That is, to play the market only when I was satisfied that precedence favored my play. There is time for all things, but I didn't know it. So, I mean, you just gotta stick to what you know, and you gotta when you have a goal, and you're hitting it, then you want to stick to that goal. Like today, for example, could have just if the order would have filled, it could have been a 6% gain, but we're still on the track to 0.5%. So I'm happy about that. That's where I want to be. And so yeah, I'm quite hopeful, to be honest. This was the most excited I've been to make a comeback, and kind of just proves that you want to stick to what you do and what you know. It kind of just serves as a learning lesson, not to, even if you're super confident, not to go 100% in or increase and stuff. But yeah, so I'm hopeful this week. There might be a good day or a good high 5% day. There might be. Now it would be quite, I don't know, maybe Nvidia might do something, I'm not too sure, but we'll see. So thanks for watching, and see you next week.